Well, it is Wednesday morning, and it's time for relaxing painting with Dice and Dungeons. As I let you know last, I am really tired today, so I'll talk about what I'm going to do while I'm tired. But I want to welcome you all back. I had to take Monday off, and I will be here today because I'm here, and I'll just keep staying here and doing this thing. And I'll be here on Friday at more or less 10, and on Monday at more or less 10. But then I'll be going on a trip again. I have an opportunity to see the solar eclipse, and I'm sure that all of you out there who have ever seen one or wanted to see one will understand that you can't let those chances go by. So it's going to be a fairly long trip. We're doing like an excursion thing, rather than just driving to Toledo, which could happen because, that's about this. Yeah. Toledo would be about the closest to where we are to see the eclipse. I know some people are going to like Niagara Falls, which is really cool because the falls are really nice. But the problem is that this time of the year, everything's cloudy. So we have an opportunity to go someplace where the chances are like 90% or so that it won't be cloudy, which is pretty good. Anyway, I'm going to spend a lot of time not really doing much today because for some reason I'm really tired. I'm not sure. We had like weather systems come through, and people aren't sure. There's no scientific evidence that the weather can affect how one feels, but it does, at least when you reach a certain demographic. So my aim here today. Oh yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about that. I always try to waste at least 15 minutes before doing anything, talking about things. And the thing I'm going to talk about today is missions and goals and objectives and processes and stuff like that, and whatever. So any of you out there who've been like in the corporate or nonprofit world or anything like that have probably gone through like long-term strategic planning things, and you bring in consultants and you pay them money to basically have them ask you, what do you do? And they have this format, and you have to have a mission, okay? A mission statement, which is like this big, broad thing that you can never really pull off because it's just so massive in scale and so generalized in language. So you have to have a mission statement, and that can usually take, well, the main feature, the really enticing feature of these long-range planning meetings is that they bring in lunch. And sometimes it's pretty good lunch. In my experience, I've gone through like 4 or 5 of these, and I think twice we had pretty good lunch. So that makes coming up with a mission statement a little bit better. But you want to take as much time as you can, because you start fairly early with coffee and rolls, and nobody eats the rolls anymore. It used to be you'd go in like decades and decades ago, and people would all eat the donuts. But now people want to, who are executives, want to show that they're fit and ready to roll, and they don't eat donuts and other pastries. They just have a cup of coffee, usually just black, right? Because that's how you show that you're fit. Then you don't drink the whole cup, because you don't want to get buzzed on caffeine or something. So anyway, you come in and you mill around a little bit, and you look at the donuts and the pastries, and you don't pick one up, and you look around to see if anyone else did, because you really would like one, because they're pretty good donuts. But you don't pick one up because no one else is picking one up, and no one else is picking one up because no one else is picking one up. And everybody in the room wants to eat a donut, but they can't because that's just not what executives do anymore. It used to be like the fabled 3 martini lunch, right? And then it was no martini lunches, and now it's not even a lunch anymore. You just go to the gym. Um, that's what executives do. I don't know. I guess that's for the better. I don't know if executives make better decisions after 3 martinis or after all the endorphins from going to the gym, but that's another topic. What I want to talk about is like coming up with a mission statement. Why? Why not? That's what you do. You have to have one. Why? I don't know. Just, to guide you, I guess, but no one really ever pays attention to it anymore once you come up with it, even if you put it like on a banner above the door or something like that. Yeah, but you come up with a mission statement after lunch. You don't want to come up with it before lunch because then, I don't know, if you come up with it too soon, you might not be there for 4 days instead of 3 days, and you miss lunch opportunities. So you'd come up with a mission statement. Like I could come up with a mission statement for relaxing painting with Dice and Dungeons, which is to get people to pay attention to Dice and Dungeons. That's not really a mission statement. People would argue with that. That's not a mission statement. That's more of a goal. It's like a goal or maybe even an objective. But a mission statement needs to be bigger, and broader, like to bring relaxing entertainment to people who watch painting shows that are related in some way to Dungeons and Dragons sometimes. That might be a good mission statement, but it's a little too self-referential. It has to contain more about what it is for the outside world, and you have to have real flowery words. And I'm a little tired today, so I can't come up with too many flowery words. I'm sure if you checked on Chat GPT or something and said, "Hey, Chat, come up with a really come up with an amazing mission statement for Dice and Dungeons," and make sure that you search the entire web for every reference to Dice and Dungeons that you can find so that you make it somewhat relevant to what we do. And it won't. It'll come back with dice are a source of pleasure when you are stuck in a dungeon, and the paladin raises his glowing sword to bring light to the world through painting. That's the kind of thing you'd get out of ChatGPT. Actually, we should try that. The next time we record, we started asking ChatGPT to come up with things like songs and, prompts and stuff like that. I think maybe we should ask it to come up with a mission statement for Dice and Dungeons, and it would come up with something like that. Okay, so that's going to be it. Like, dice are going to be bringing pleasure to people who are stuck in dungeons while the paladin raises their gleaming sword to light the way to relaxing painting. Anyway, so you come up with a mission statement. It's only like 10:09. I got like 6 more minutes of babbling to do yet before I tell you what I'm not going to be doing today, or attempting to do. That'll be like an objective, I think. So you come up with a mission statement that basically has something to do with making all of humanity better, right? Might as well just say that. And then the session ends and you all feel great about it, and you write it in great big letters. And in the old days, you do it on these great big sheets of newsprint with some adhesive on the back, so you could write it in like red Sharpie and stick it on the wall, so it would be there next time. But now things are fancier, so you'd probably put it up on a screen with the overhead projector that's up on the ceiling, and then you if you had like an hour left in the session, you'd probably even have a debate about the kind of type font that you would use for your mission statement. That would be a good use of time. Well, the next day you come in and they might as well have just brought back the same donuts. I mean, they might be, for all you know, because no one took any yesterday, because no one would take any, because no one else was taking any, even though everybody still wanted one, and you still really want one, but no one will take one because executives nowadays don't eat those kinds of things. You just have a half a cup of black coffee, and you think about how good those donuts were yesterday, and you start thinking about whether they just left them here because no one would take them, and they knew no one would ever take them. So, the caterers knew that they might as well just leave them out. No one would know that they were stale because, that's the way it is. And why waste money bringing in more donuts? It's not like you take the donuts and put them down in the lunchroom for people who were not being watched by other executives, not eating donuts, would actually pick them up and eat them. But no, you just leave them there. Maybe you would even rearrange them a little bit so that people who were a little bit observant and OCD would look at the donuts and think that maybe they might be fresh donuts and pastries because they were arranged differently than they were yesterday. But your task for today is to come up with goals and objectives based on your mission statement, which may or may not have anything to do with what you actually do, because your mission statement may or may not. But that's your task for today. And you can't really say that that's your objective for today or your goal for today, or, you can't say that yet because you haven't had an 8-hour debate about what the difference is between a goal and an objective. And you haven't come up with examples and disagreed about whether that was really a goal or an objective or not. Okay. So, you do that. And, for example, my goal for today, which may be an objective, maybe a goal, I'm not sure. We have to have an online debate about this. I think is that my goal for today is to do some relaxing, a little bit of relaxing painting, but mostly trying not to. Yeah, I want it to be, an entertaining stream, making some progress on the Apollo and the sub. That sounds like an objective. My goal is to have a good, relaxing painting with Dice and Dungeons stream. And another goal would be to promote Dice and Dungeons. Okay. Yeah, maybe objectives, I don't know. An objective might be, for me today, definitely an objective is to not mess anything up. Because I'm tired, I could very well mess something up. So the things I'm going to do today, when I get around to doing anything, are mostly going to be things that won't mess things up. Okay. I have to say that when I was in an organization, kind of in an executive position, I got really tired of missions and goals and objectives, and I got really, really tired of people arguing about whether something was a goal or an objective or not. Okay. And I don't know if this was the right thing to do or not, but this was actually a human service agency, a healthcare organization, but it was like, what's our point? What's the point of people coming in here every day? How can you tell whether you're doing the right thing or not? And you could tell whether you're doing the right thing or not, depending on whether or not what you were doing was contributing to the production of a product. And it sounds kind of dehumanizing to talk about a healthcare setting to have a product, but if you know what it is you're trying to accomplish, okay, this is the thing that we make happen. It might not be like a tangible widget or, a door handle or a microchip or something like that, but it is a thing that we make happen. And that's our product. And all we had was a product statement. It was, is what you're doing today making this thing happen or not? And if it's not helping make that thing happen, then don't do it. And if it is, then do that. And then, see if you could even make it better over time. But, I don't know. I hope you ate the donuts that day because that barely got us around to lunchtime. I think we had lunch the day we came up with our product statement. But it took like a morning, and then people had to go back to work and do that stuff that would make that thing happen the rest of the day. But anyway, yeah, a 4-day long strategic planning thing where you take a day to make a mission and a day to decide what a goal and objective is, and then a third day to try to sort those out, and a fourth day to congratulate yourself on the great job you did. Is more the standard, I think. Let's see. Yeah, it's 20 after, so that was good. Anyway, my product today is to not mess up. That's it. So here, I kept this on the screen because I actually accomplished something last week. I got this octopus done. This was the thing I was going for. This is a real octopus. This is a blue striped octopus, even though it's circles. I think that's what it's called. And this is my realization of it in paint on a rosin printed octopus. And I think it came out okay. The colors aren't quite the same. I used what I had. These are pearlescent paints, so they kind of glow a little bit. That's kind of cool. And I got the base coat down, I think, actually pretty well, with a bright yellow with an overwash, a dry brush of something to just tone it down. Anyway, I wanted to show that to you because that shows that some things actually do happen sometimes here on Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons, and that might not happen today. So there, ta-da. I'm going to put this aside and take the picture away. The other thing I'm going to be doing today, and this is intentional, is I sort of know what I'm going to be working on today, but it's all in a different place. Like they're stacked up over there for the most part. And I am intentionally not putting them all here before I started the stream because it will be good for me to get up and take even 2 or 3 steps to pick up what I'm working on and bring it back here. So I'll be on and off camera every now and then. The first thing that I'm going to try to not mess up is part of the submarine, which is still not done because interruptions and because things sometimes didn't work very well. And sometimes things needed to be done off screen, like spray painting. And anyway, all sorts of excuses. Goals, objectives, excuses. That should be part of it, because most excuses in the setting become extemporaneous, or at least they appear to be that way, although they tend, there's like 3 or 4 probably standard excuses, like it's not my job, or I didn't have time, or my instructions were confusing, or, there's always some sort of excuse. But those are actually, more relevant, I think, to day-to-day operation of an organization than trying to come up with a mission statement. Anyway, let me get the piece that I am going to start, hopefully not messing. So this is the base for the Renwall submarine. Okay. and it actually goes this way. The submarine hull, the part of the hull that includes all of the interior detail, gets attached here. Okay. And these little prongs and these little things here. So this big thing, big, fairly heavy thing, that's all there is. That's the only point of attachment. That will be interesting. This, that's all covered up in paper that I very carefully masked, is painted gray. This is the side of the hull that folds up like that. Okay. And the base, the base was made out of two pieces, and I tried really hard so that the seams wouldn't show. And I really didn't succeed at that, but the base looks okay. It's not great, but it looks okay. For some reason, just there were just irregularities that I couldn't sand out. But so the first thing I did today was talk about goals and objectives and missions, and then I talked about how I was going to try to not break anything. But the thing I'm going to try to accomplish today is unmasking this. And what I'm really hoping for is that as I unmask this, the masking that I put over the gray paint, okay, I bought this fairly expensive modeler's masking tape. I'm hoping that the gray paint that's on here on the hull stays on. Otherwise, I have to then mask this and spray paint the whole thing gray again and hope that when I take this paint off, the brown stays on. Anyway, I'm going to start unmasking this. I'm going to do this really slowly because I have to fill a couple hours today. Well, anyway, I do everything slowly nowadays. That's why I'm going to do this slowly as well. I also don't have a lot of work surface here, and what I should do is I should get some scissors, but maybe I won't. I don't know. So there, we'll just pile this up so you can see the debris. Oh, that's good. As I'm taking this off, the paper is making all this crackling noise, and there's a filter on the microphone. It's amazing. It really, really works well. It filters out all that sound because I can see there's a little bar here that moves when there's sound going through the microphone. I'm going to stop talking, and you can hear the paper crinkling not happen. Okay, so there was a lot of noise there that you didn't hear because the filter worked. So you'll just have to imagine, no matter how far up I move this, I'm just going to kind of move it around. This isn't really a studio. This is just a workbench with a piece of cardboard on it. Okay. We didn't build a studio for relaxing painting because it was a sideshow. That's a good word for it. It's a sideshow. And so what we have is a leftover. We have a studio for our D&D campaign, right? There. See, that's how the hull looks. The hull looks gray like that. It's spray painted nicely. Yeah, that was dust. That's good. There wasn't any tape on that, so that wasn't an issue yet. There's tape on it on the gray part here. This is kind of boring, isn't it? Well, little spot. Why is there a spot there? I'm going to have to decide what to do about that. I think I know. How I'm going to handle that, but we'll wait for that for a bit. One tiny white spot. What I've done in the past is since I don't have any not spray paint, this gray color, there's another little spot there, is I spray a little bit of paint in a container, and then I wonder if those spots, there's little spots all over, but they look like they're dust. I wonder if they'll come off. Like there's like little white spots that got stuck on the paint. Anyway, I'll use a cotton swab a little later with maybe a little water to see if those are just things that will come off, or whether that needs to be touched up. We'll see. Anyway, that isn't bad. In terms of, being a mess. I want to get rid of this paper before I start peeling that tape off. The next bits of tape are the most important. That's right along the base here. Yeah, there's printing on this. Yeah. The paper I used was the paper I used for the picture of the goose. The gigantic lute-playing goose that I painted a couple of weeks ago. Okay, well, and this is what I use for the Quetzalcoatl. Okay, I reused stuff here. That was what this was. You can see the resemblance there, right? Yeah. So this paper now is trash. It needs to be thrown away, but I did reuse it, so I did some sort of recycling stuff. Let's see. The tape here goes under the hinge. These hinges are really fragile. In fact, of the 3 model kits that I bought in order to make one model, okay, of the 3 that I had, all 3 of them had something broken on the hinges. So there's these little white spots and other things on the paint, but I think that's not problems with the paint. They're just little bits of debris that hopefully I can just wash off. Okay, this was very carefully taped here. Oh, yeah. What's happening? So what's happening here is that as I'm peeling off the tape, the paint that's on the tape is flaking off the tape and getting all over my hands. So that's not really helpful, because that's just going to get on everything else. So anyway, as I have told the viewers many times, I am not a master modeler, not even close. I am not a master painter, not even close. So this is not a professional how to do modeling sort of thing at all. This is relaxing painting with dice and dungeons, and this is a sideshow. Let's say that again. This is a sideshow to the real show, which is our Dungeons and Dragons campaign. I can talk about that later. Okay, I'll have to get that from the other side. But I'm accumulating a fair amount of brown paint debris. You know why I'm being so careful about this. I'm not sure where this thing is going to end up, like if it's actually going to be displayed somewhere or not. But if it is, it's just going to get all dusty anyway. So like within a little while after finishing it, if it ever gets actually finished, this thing's going to get all dusty, and that'll create its own issues. Okay, I need to get this tape off. Scratching stuff. It's kind of like a matte. You know how that is when you get a matte surface. You just scratch it a little bit and then it's shiny. So that's what I'm looking at here, is pulling this tape off without marring the surface. So yeah, I expect that, like I just did there, right? That's what I just did. I just did what I said I was trying not to do. So this thing is going to be far from like a museum level or professional level model. I've been, doing my best to try to make it look pretty cool, pretty detailed. You'll see that when I show you the real part of the model, which is the interior detail. That was good, reaching over the coffee mug. Mm-hmm. Well done. Tools. Wow, that threw the focus off. That, oh, I see what's happening. It's focusing up here and not down there. I'm being a tool using person here. I used a little X-Acto knife to lift up the corner of the tape so that I wouldn't be messing up the matte surface, the satin surface with my fingers. Just this piece, and then this last piece right along the edge there. That needs to come up. So unmasking this is probably definitely not a goal, I guess. And the goal would be to make progress on finishing the submarine model. That would be the goal. I guess this would be an objective. I don't know. Why not? Stuck on there really good. Probably it's pinched a little bit. Oh, great. It's two pieces. Huh. Yeah, I couldn't just do it in one swoop, right? Yeah, so my objective here is to get this tape off, which is which was going okay until the last bit, right? This is frequently how things go. Is anybody who's done any kind of project, say your project is to take an old hinge off of a door, and there's like 3 hinges on the door, and each of them has 4 screws, right? And the first couple, until you get the rhythm of it, the first couple go pretty slowly, but okay. But just as you're finishing, just as you're getting to the finish of it, the last screw on the last hinge won't come out. Okay, and there's 2 ways that a project goes. One is that just as the hardest part is the very last part. Okay. Other than cleaning this up, we just do that now. I've got a couple of spots here. I've got these little cotton swab things. Get a little bit wet, not a lot wet, but a little bit wet. Let's see if these white spots are things that will come off or not. Yeah, that's good. That's good. They're not flaws in the paint. They're just something that's stuck to it. What or why, but there it is. Let me play around with this for a little bit and get these off. There was one there that wasn't coming off, but I'll get back to that and see what I can do. The brown spots are the paint that flaked off. It's now all over my hands and everything else. Yuck. White spots come off. The one up in the front near the bow that's still there. These brown chunks, I want to get them off because sometimes paint will fuse to paint. It's like the paint isn't ever really dry, and if paint is on the paint, it'll stick to it. They'll fuse together. So I want to get the brown things off, of the ones I see anyway. One spot just won't give up. It's like, what the heck? What is your problem? What is your problem, white spot? So this hull is not like perfect. There we go. Just move to another place. So the hull isn't perfect, but I spray paint. Basically, I use the primer to paint this, and because it's just the right submarine hull color. But let me flip this over. I don't know if you can see it that well, but I did the inside as well. I should show you. Well, you'll see it on the other submarine. The raw plastic really is not. It just looks yucky. It is really pretty crappy. And the spray painting it with the primer made a huge difference in the appearance. So I did something so far. I accomplished an unmasking of this, and I have to say that, it's not perfect. I really don't like how the base came out. I'm disappointed that I wasn't able to get the seam to disappear no matter what, multiple fillings and things. So what I'm concerned about, I don't know if you can see it very well, is that I can't really get a good camera angle on it. There's as good as it gets. You can still see the seam here where the two halves came together. And I filled that and sanded it twice. And you can still see that there's a seam. The main reason I'm concerned about that isn't so much the base, but on the Apollo is going to be painted kind of a gloss white. And a lot of parts, like the part I'm working on right now, have seams in them. They're two halves that come together. And I'm doing my best, and I'll be working on that a little bit later. You'll get to see some really exciting sanding of parts. I'm trying to get the seam to not show once it's painted, and I don't know how well that's going to work. This doesn't bode well. Okay, what happened with the stand? I have to take this off. I'll show you that in a second. But this is the outside hull of the submarine. As much as I can show it to you, it's like 18 inches long. Almost the whole thing is like 2 feet. So this is, I don't know, it might be 18, 19 inches long. This is supposed to fold up and cover the inside of the submarine, which has all of the interior detail, which I will be showing to you fairly soon, because that's the next thing I would need to work on. Where did this come from? There's yet more white dots. Yeah. So this folds up, and the other part of the submarine, the part which is really the model. I mean, this is just, could actually do without this, actually, because it doesn't fold up very well, and it doesn't cover the submarine, and it doesn't look like one big submarine. But, it's part of the kit. Here, this spot here, this whole submarine is longer than this. The whole thing is like 2 more inches in the bow and 3 more inches in the stern. This is the sole point of contact. And you can see the little bit of texture on there. That's tape. Okay. Because the cement doesn't stick to paint very well. So I put tape on here. You can start to see it, so that there would be an unpainted area to which I can apply the cement. And the same thing is going to be true of the outside hull of the main part of the kit. The real part of the kit is, I'll put tape on that too, so that there will be as much contact area for the cement as possible, because the thing is supposed to be held there. This is supposed to hold it so that it stays adhered to the stand without breaking off. So that will be like the very last thing that gets done. Here you can see the difference between the raw plastic, which is kind of scratched up and way too glossy, even though the Renwall people instructions say that it's molded in submarine gray. It's molded in submarine gray, so you don't have to do anything with it. Well, that's nonsense. You do. It's really not. It's not very submarine-y looking at all. This looks much better, I think. This line here just is another one of those where the seam, I filled that in and sanded it multiple times, and it's still Still a thing. Okay, one last bit. This is going to strike you as being a little bit weird, but it has to be done. There's these little prongs up here. I don't know if you can see them. These pins fit into two holes in the hull of the submarine, and they show through on the inside. And I don't want them to be brown because this fits into the missile tube compartment. Okay, these two little pins. And if you were to get the right angle, you'd have to look for them, okay, by turning the submarine around or your head or something. The inside of the missile tube compartment is light blue. And so I'm going to paint these little pins, just not so it shows on the outside, but the parts that fit in. I'm going to paint those light blue so that so that they'll look like the same color as the hull. Okay, so there. Let me. This is going to be one of those opportunities for me to get up and do something. The thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the debris, and I reused twice paper, and get rid of it. So one of the things, if this were like a really professional how to do modeling and painting show, as opposed to just an old amateur reliving basically their teen years, which is when I used to build models. Okay. So instead of that, if this were a really like a good how-to show, there would be always keep your work surface neat and clear, move things out of the way, put them away, so that you don't like bump into them and knock things over and make a mess and that kind of stuff. So I'll say that, even though I don't do it, because it's not that kind of show. This is a not how to do it show. Keep your work surface clear and clean. Everything will go much better that way. Maybe not as much fun or as exciting as episodic oopses like you get on this one. I'm continuing to make an effort to not break these hinges. Like I said, they're really sensitive. Well, the masking worked anyway. It didn't peel off the paint. That's good. Pins. Yeah. I'm just trying to see where it should be painted and not. It kind of holds its own weight as long as I don't like bump it or something. So this is the color. This is the light green. So I have to start thinking now in terms of, goals and objectives and things. So an objective would be to finish the submarine. Okay, that could be an objective. No, that's a goal. Sorry, that should be the goal. Sorry, I got those confused. Wow. Boy, those of you who were in management there, you would have had a horrible lesson of confusion of goals and objectives. You could have been like reprimanded by a supervisor who actually cared about the difference between a goal and an objective, as opposed to just producing the product you're supposed to produce. Like get it out the door, make it happen and make it good. Anyway, yeah, that wouldn't be a goal. Finish the submarine would be a goal, not an objective. Yeah, a goal, because it's a big thing, like finish the submarine. An objective, and there's like sub layers of objectives, I'm sure. An objective would be finish this component of the submarine, the part that doesn't really matter, the outside hull. I don't know, painting these little pins green, is that an objective? Or is that like a third level? Maybe it isn't even an objective. Maybe it doesn't even rise to the level of objectiveness. I don't know. But what I know is that it's a really important thing to do so that, well, it's not really that important, but it's a thing to do so that the inside of the pins inside the missile room match the color of the missile room walls, and they're not brown. I'm putting these on so I can kind of see what I'm doing. The important part is just the very, very tips of the pins. I don't want to get a lot of paint on the sides of the pins because the paint buildup, as I said that I did it, right? The paint buildup could keep the pins from fitting through the holes. The part that might show on the inside of the submarine matches the color of the a real master modeler, doing a display level model that would look really, really good. This is the kind of detail that I would pay attention to. So in some ways, I'm doing an adequate job of emulating the kind of attention to detail that a master modeler would have. Except they wouldn't have seams showing. They'd figure out how. They wouldn't have any seams showing on their base like that, like I have. And they have little white spots and little bits of discoloration on there. Get it on your finger, and they wouldn't get it on their finger. You can get paint on their fingers so that they'd accidentally touch something. And I think that'll do. That should work. I'm going to put this up like this. Stay up, is it? Well, there was some painting that, it wasn't hugely relaxing necessarily, but at least you got some relaxing painting with Dyson Dungeons. Know that there'll be any more. There might not be any more the entire stream. So we should treasure that moment. I shouldn't be doing it. For all I know, there's little bits of green paint left on the brush. That would be just the thing, right? Okay, well, now it's green, and they should match the walls of the missile room. Hopefully, I remembered that was the actual color and got it right. Okay, well, now I'm going to put this aside because there isn't anything more I can do with this. So I'm going to put it away here, over here, and bring out the rest of the sub. Happening here. Here's some parts. rotate it there, you can still see it. Show this to you. For those of you who haven't seen this yet, this is actually the point of the model. The point of the model is to have the interior of the submarine shown off. And I'll slide it along here. There's the torpedo room. Those are torpedo tubes with little gauges and stuff. Okay, and then there's the head. Yeah, they even have little toilets in the model. But those are not porcelain. I'm pretty sure that on submarines they would have made those out of like stainless steel, so that they could be repaired. And of course, if anything, they might be dented, but they wouldn't be broken. That would be bad. You don't want to carry really heavy, backup. Well, it's on a submarine. You don't need that, but you might, stainless steel. You can always just weld it, or not, or just live with the dents. Okay, so there's that, and then there's the mess hall, and then the galley back there. I think that came out pretty cool if you could see it, like the little cabinet drawers and things. I spent a lot of time on the galley. Got the faucet and the pots and pans and things like that all done. And there's officers' bunks up here. You can tell they're officer bunks because, like there's no room here. Right? That white spot. The heck? Yeah, dust. Like I said, dust. So you can see, like, there's no room for anybody even to slide in and out. You'd bump your head if you so much as like you couldn't even roll over, right? But the officers got bunks with lots of space. So you could tell that those are the officers' bunks because there's room and like all sorts of locker space and stuff. So that's pretty fancy. And they're right there next to the control room, so that if there's an emergency, like we need to launch all of our nuclear missiles and annihilate the world, if there's something like that, all they need to do is go through this hatch from their room there, and they could go right here to the control room and probably push some toggles and turn some keys and stuff, and do that. And then there's more bunks here, like in the back there. This is like the officers' wardroom here. This is where they all get to sit around the table and talk about what's going to happen next and that sort of thing. And then you come to this part, and this is where all the 16, in this case Polaris missiles, because this is the very, very first one, the very first. This isn't actually it. This is a plastic model. It's not the very first submarine. It's a model of the prototype George Washington ballistic launching submarine. So those are the tubes. Those were a pain in the butt to do. Actually, I did a fairly good job. You can't really see the seams. This is like the front and the back. They're not. Yeah, I know they're not perfectly put in there. The missile room turned out to be like the least. It looks like the simplest, okay, but it turned out to be like the least well done part of the entire submarine. Just because it's just a real pain. It just didn't turn out very well, but it's okay. It's adequate. And then these bits here are important. There's like a compressor back there, and the compressor pumps air into this holding tank and then shoots it out to all these tubes, and compressed air is what shoots the missiles up to the surface before they ignite and go launching off. And then there's the reactor, and this model is kind of cool in that they did a cutaway of the reactor and the heat exchanger. So I took some time, and I think it came out okay, to paint the inside of the reactor to look like it's all hot and glowing. And I don't know if you can see it, but it's kind of orange on this tube in the center. What happens is, well, we'll just start at the top. Hot water, really, really hot water, super highly compressed, not even steam water goes here to the heat exchanger, where it goes through these coils. And as it goes down, it cools off as it exchanges its heat to the superheated steam, which is represented by this white and blue sort of stuff. And then it flows back to the bottom of the reactor cooler, which I represented with this kind of orangish color. And then it goes up and it gets hot again. And this is a closed loop so that the radioactive water, which is through this whole thing, never comes out. And then the superheated steam is also a closed loop, and that never comes in contact with the radioactive stuff. But the really interesting thing is, see this one pipe, the pipe that comes out of the top here, that is the thing that that runs everything on the submarine. The superheated steam that goes through that pipe runs everything in the submarine, and it goes into this thing here and gets distributed to all of this stuff. Okay, all of this stuff here, which is I don't know. I mean, these things do all sorts of things. They run the propeller. Okay. Eventually, it just comes here and runs the propeller there. It takes the carbon dioxide out of the air so that people don't asphyxiate. It makes the compressed air to launch the missiles. It generates electricity to run all of this stuff, okay, including like the stoves and things in the galley. Does the lights. It's just, everything happens down in all of this machinery based on the superheated steam that comes out of just that one pipe. So that's it. The whole submarine runs on that. You don't want anything to happen to that pipe, because then everything would stop working. And I don't think on the real submarine it's red. The painting instructions in the box tops say paint it red, but I think that's just to make it look like, ooh, this is radioactive, this is a reactor core and stuff, and that's really cool. But then all this machinery, which I'm sure some of it actually probably is a little bit like their stuff on the real submarine. I'm not sure which of them. Some of these actually have names in the instruction sheets. But there's that. So this is the submarine. The thing I was showing you before folds up and is supposed to cover all of this and make it look like one integral submarine thing, which it actually fails to do. What I'm going to do, and I probably shouldn't, okay, the better part of Valor said, don't do this, is I'm going to paint the hull of the submarine the color that you saw spray painted on the other side of the hull. And doing that, I could just, it's no big deal, right? But the problem is I don't want to get any of that spray paint on this. So I need to very, very carefully mask everything here so that the spray paint doesn't get on it. So that's the thing I need to do, is do that. Parts of it are, a little bit complicated, like there's this hatch on the top of the conning tower or sail, okay, and that hatch, people can stand up there. If you look at the inside, which is now upside down, there's a little platform. You can climb these ladders and stairwell and stand there and stick your head out. I don't know why you don't want to do that. Like 2 people could stand up here and look at the outside. And then there's a window there that needs, and those need to be masked from the inside with little pieces of masking tape so that the spray paint doesn't come through those openings. And then there's a hole there. That is this diving plane. This diving plane gets inserted here like that. Okay. I'm not going to do that now. I'm going to do that after it's all spray painted so that the inside, so this all gets spray painted nicely and isn't blocked by the plane. Yeah, so the thing I need to do is to mask all of this. These things up here, these little periscopes and stuff move. Again, it's upside down, but you can see they go up and down inside those tubes. I'm actually going to take those out. I'm going to take those out, I think, and like maybe I'll take one out now just to show you how it would work. See, it comes. That was not good. That was bad. Maybe I won't take them out. But I was going to like put a toothpick in the hole. But what happened was that when I took it out, the tube down there is not cemented in. And now I need to get it lined up so that was really dumb. Why did I? Okay, so I'm rethinking what I was thinking of doing. I am now rethinking that. What did I do? That was an oops. I didn't remember that those were not cemented and that the lining up of them was dependent on. Yeah, okay, well, here we go. One major oops. We're going to rethink this. Here, if I can. Oh my, how am I going to do this? There, okay. So I'm kind of glad I did that because that tells me that I can't take these out. Because if I take them out, then the tube down there isn't going to work. Okay, I need to remember to not pull that all the way out. That was not a good idea. That was a bad idea. Bad idea. Don't do it again. It's amazing what you can learn through mistakes. So I was going to take these out, but I'm going to leave them in now. And this is the same color, almost identical as the hull. And when I painted these, you can see that they're kind of chrome colored. I painted the very tops of them to match the hull color because, you don't want shiny things sticking out of the top. Anyway, at some point, when I'm feeling confident, and it probably has to happen sooner than later, is I need to mask this entire thing very carefully all the way around the edges, including these little round protuberances here for the escape hatches, okay? And the insides of these little spots here, like in the sail, so that I can spray paint the whole thing. I don't know if you can see it, but there's actually a bow kind of there I don't think you can see it move. It's a flaw that I am not happy with. And I thought about, and I tried with contact cement, and it's supposed to be done this way, but I couldn't pull it off, is putting some cement on the tops of these tubes. You can see there's some remnants of contact cement there just to hold it down, but just there's too much opportunity if I use regular cement to get it onto these tubes and mess up the paint, which was, to be honest, a real pain to get done to begin with. Okay, the yellow paint was not, it took like 3 coats of yellow paint and 2 times sanding and filing, and so the heart of the submarine, the missile tubes, is like the least well done of the entire submarine. It's just the way it is. I don't know why. Like I said, dust. This thing is just going to be covered in dust eventually anyway. So one of my goal is to finish the submarine, and one of the objectives one has to meet in order to get it done is to spray paint the hull. And in order to spray paint the hull, I need to mask off all of this interior detail that I spent the better part of a year doing. So, getting this mask, I'm looking at, 5 minutes to spray paint the whole thing, right? I mean, it's going to take a long time to mask this. And you'll get to see that because I decided to do the masking on the stream so that I had something to do and you could see the process. So I'm going to, do that. Before that, though, just, it doesn't show, but these parts did not fit well, especially this. This didn't fit well at all. And I kind of, I put some filler in there and I sanded it down, and I think that's as good as it's going to get. And it's going to be in the back, in the bottom, where it's not going to be seen. One bit I need to remember to do. Okay, remember those pins on the other side that were light blue to match the color of the inside of the missile thing here. I'm going to knock those off for sure. Well, those pins fit in these holes, and so this area here between the pins and the bottom needs to be masked. What is that? I'm not sure that that's an issue to be. Oh, yeah, I need to remember this. The reactor likes to fall out. Good. Yep. Broke it. Mm-hmm. I didn't cement these parts in. Okay. I intentionally didn't cement them in for reasons like this. Oh, this is not good. This is another one of those, seriously, why is this happening? None of this interior is actually cemented in, which means that I could disassemble all of this. I could pull all of this stuff out without harming the inside of the submarine. I think maybe these bits up here might be, but for the most part, if it's possible to just take this apart and reinstall it, and the parts hold in pretty well by fiction. That's probably what it is, more fiction than not. Like I think that's cemented in. Okay, the escape hatch. But if one wanted to take this apart and get it to look better than it does, it's possible to do that. All of this can come out. The reactors don't stay in very well. So when I tape, none of this fits. That's a complaint I have about this kit, is that hardly any of the parts anywhere fit very well. Yeah. Let me just keep chatting before I start taping, because and I can't finish this unless I tape it and mask it. And once it's masked, it'll be almost done. And I'm looking at just like 20 minutes worth of work to finish it. This needs to be put on. That little pin needs to go through that hole without breaking off. That should be fun. This is the hatch to the top of the missile silo here. And if you can't, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little lever on the side of this one. It's actually spring loaded. You can push that down, and this hatch here, which is ill-fitting, opens up, and you're supposed to be able to shoot one of these missiles up out of the silo. I know it works, okay, but I'm not going to activate it. What I am going to do, though, is I'm going to open the hatches and put one of these missiles down into the silo, okay, like about that far, right? So it looks like it's shooting not all the way up, because then the stick will show, but about like that. There's a little platform in here that the stick will sit on, so that it looks like there's a missile shooting out. I thought that would be kind of a cool way of demonstrating how that works. But I do need to remember it isn't that critical, because this deck is painted the same color as the outside is going to be. But I need to remember to tape on the inside of that hatch as well, so that when I spray paint it, it doesn't go through. Like I said, this here is the color of the hull, so it wouldn't be that awful, but it wouldn't be good either. So let me just talk about, once this is masked and spray painted, and hopefully it's okay. I'm really concerned about it. The things that need to be done are fairly small. One is that, I'll open this hatch under here. It somehow will open, and insert this missile in there. That'll just be sitting there. Need to put this in without breaking the pin. And I need to attach this, the bronze propeller. Okay, that's an extra spring for one of the other models, and this is a ladder that I'm not going to install in the control room. So these bits here, these little bits here, okay, just one of the missiles, not both. 1, 2, 3, 4 little parts go on the submarine. That's the last bit of assembly before I somehow adhere this entire thing. Remember this patch here with like super adhesive. I'm not sure I'll use model cement. I might use like Gorilla Glue or something, if I can get this thing held in place. That's that on that stand supposedly supports the entire submarine. That's the real center of gravity of the submarine. I'm just shocked. Okay, because if it tipped one way or the other here, that would be a real problem. But that's the one thing these model makers actually got kind of right. I don't know. I mean, at some point, can't delay any longer, right? Just need to get started on it. So, yeah, I'm gonna start putting tape on. I'm gonna get up again. I took my glasses off so I could see up close. Um, oh, maybe I should I start at the hardest part? Maybe I should do the hardest parts first. Yeah, I'm going to do some little bits and pieces of things. Hold on, getting scissors. These are the things that I'm likely to forget. Is the masking the inside of these holes, right? Those of you who are watching, if you really want to build models and do a really good job with them, like I said, this isn't the place to learn that skill. This is a place to watch somebody fumbling around using whatever they've learned, since they were a teen when I used to do modeling. Okay, this workbench was set up for painting dungeon tiles and minis, and not 2 foot long submarine models. Fortunately, this will end eventually, because my goal of completing the submarine will be accomplished by a completion of my objectives, which are things like getting this masking tape on, so that the gray paint doesn't come shooting through that hole into the interior of the submarine. There's that. Window, so you could stand on the inside, and for I don't know why would you be looking out? Maybe when you were like docking the submarine or something. It's okay for it to come around because this edge has to be all. Anyway, there's a window there that you can look out of, and maybe it's like docking the submarine, right? Because when you're inside here, unless you're looking through the periscope, and that causes its own problems. There's nothing you can't see, so maybe somebody's up here. It looks like there's maybe a little bench there or something, or a hatch. That's a hatch. Somebody has to stand here and say, nope, nope, a little more to the left. No, not that left, the other left. I meant port. No, not the drink, but the. Anyway, and then you dock the submarine, and everybody gets to get off or get on, and they get to, replace the missiles with fresh ones with, you know, fresh solid fuel in them and things. Now this will be interesting. Do it this way. This is another one of those where wrapping it up around the outside is perfectly fine, because to be wrapped up just around the edge, just like that. I want the edge covered, but I don't want it to stick there. And I'm going to be doing that too. The tape is going to extend beyond the edge. It's just a little too far. It's gonna like wrap around or pull off or something. What I really need is like a flat thing. I'll just use this. Do it this way. This is yeah, that's going well. How many times do you need to stick the tape on before it's in the right place? Many, many times. This is relaxing, sticking tape on things. Dyson Dungeons. The oh my. Okay. Well, I'm gonna try. You'll see what I have to do for the. Remember those holes in the hull in the missile room? Okay. I can't tape them from the inside because I can't get to them. In fact, it's really hard to see them. But I mean, you can see one back there. Can you sort of see it? It's really hard to tell. It's between the. Yeah, there you can barely see the little spot there. Okay, and then there's another one further back. No, actually, yeah, further back here. You can see it there. What I know is that if spray paint got through there would be a lot of it, and it would get all over the tubes, right? I can't really get tape to there. So what I'm going to do is plug them. Making sure that these are masked. And if a little bit of gray paint gets in, that's probably okay. I can touch it up, but I would just as soon not have to deal with touching up. Yep. So I'm there. Could have used one of those pieces that I cut off earlier. Finish masking the inside of this. So yeah, I guess I'm working on an objective here. If I were to talk seriously about a product, the product would be to finish the submarine, have it nicely spray painted, so it would look really, really cool and all of that. So it would look really good. There's a little bit of a gap there into which I can put this tape. So I'm taping around the edges, but then after I'm done taping around the edges here like this, right? I'll be covering this whole thing in paper. Because it's not just enough to cover the edges, right? I mean, I could do that, but then the paint would get everywhere. But the paint taping up the edges is an important first step. And then I can attach the paper to the. Well, anyway, I'll get around to it. I'm getting around to things eventually. So, yeah, doing this taping is an important thing to keep the inside of the submarine from turning gray, which I don't want it to do. I want it to stay the way it is. So as I'm doing this, I'm learning all sorts of things. Like one of the things that I could have done, and I actually decided not to, is I could have painted the hull before I did the inside, right? I mean, why not? Then I wouldn't have to worry about all this masking because there wouldn't be anything to mask because it wouldn't be in there. So why didn't I do that? Well, I didn't do that because, as you can see, there's a lot of movement. This hull just got bounced around a lot, and I figured if I'd painted it, it would just get scratched up. And if it got scratched up, what's the point? I would just have to repaint it. That may or may not have been the right decision. I don't know. There's a chance that was not the right decision, and that I should have painted the hull before I did this, before I built the rest of this. But I didn't. So there. I am going to put a piece of tape across here. Basically, that's just to hold things in place. Okay. And in fact, I'm going to do that right along here as well. There's no reason not to. Okay. Because this is all going to get covered up. But like I said, these things aren't cemented in. So I'm actually going to be putting tape across a lot of this just to make sure that, because I'm going to be like rotating this in various different directions. I think I'm going to, what I'm concerned about is if I put this tape on here like this, right? Do I get it? Yeah, I guess I can do that. Okay. Is get the corners. That doesn't matter that much, as long as it's sealed along there. That was really good. Yeah. That's part of it is, getting it pushed on there. And then, the next thing you do is you pull it off. Keep using the tweezers. I want like the tail end of a brush. So this is going to take a while, as you can see. Needle. I'll have a toothpick. What I'm concerned about with this is that it'll tear the tape because of the sharp metal thing. This is good. I can do that, and I can see that it changes colors, so I can see that it's sealing. And I can get That there, there's some green paint that might be dry or might not. And yeah, toothpick. That's a good. Toothpicks are a good tool. Now I need to wrap it around these little in front here, around the escape hatches. This is a little bit. You know, I'll just do little bits at a time here and see how it goes. To cover the hatch. This isn't adhering very well. Why isn't it sticking? Well, I am going to adjust that. Where did I? There it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we'll see. End up having to retouch some of this. It's being a little bit fussy here on the escape hatch. I don't want a lot of paint infiltrated. If there's a little bit that gets onto the edge of the hatch, I can deal with that because, in fact, I probably need to paint that edge anyway. So that it's a dark gray instead of the beige. Yes, that's going to be okay. And just using half size. That isn't what I wanted to do. This is where it would help to be left-handed. This is an amazing episode, I'll tell you, of relaxing, putting masking tape on a submarine with Dyson Dungeons. And what I'm doing, in case you're just joining now and you have no idea what's going on, is this is the interior of the Renwell submarine that I've been working on for the last million years. And I am going to be painting the hull, this part, the outside of it, on the other side of this, gray, dark gray. And I don't want that paint to get on the inside. So I'm masking the edges. And after I'm done with this, I'm going to be covering this whole interior with some paper so that it's like totally masked. And I have to come back to this escape hatch. It's just being uncooperative. So I'll deal with that a little bit later. This is large. Yeah, it sticks to itself really well. Yeah, much is true. It didn't want it to go down. It didn't want it to go down onto the next part there, but we'll deal with that in a bit. I'm folding this in because I want to paint the inside of this edge. Okay. So if a little bit of paint gets in this gap, that's fine. You can't see it. But I want to make sure that I've got this masked, this edge here. But I also want to be able to make sure that this little bit there gets painted the gray. Yeah, the corner. Might take doing corners. It's like when you're taping for painting a room or something. Getting the corners right it's always a thing. But for this purpose, pretty amazing. It's staying on screen. Taping it along the bottom here. Let's do this. We'll see how this goes. This tape down to the corner. Yeah, it's moving a little bit. You can see that none of the interior has been cemented in intentionally. Intentionally, I say, because there was always the possibility that it would have to be like taken out and redone. That hasn't happened. Pieces have come off and have had to be replaced, but I haven't had to start over. I'm getting the edges done, and I'm going to put some tape, but at some point I'll need to cover the inside. All right. And that's going to be another project. We'll see how that goes. I haven't thought that through very well yet. Yep. I know it needs to be done, and I have a rough idea of how it's going to happen, but it's not something that I've attended to yet. Oh, come on. All I need to do is get it up. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I'll just put a little bit, there's a gap. Mind the gap. Deal with the gap. Is the tape going over the edge like that and getting onto the hull. I want it just to like provide a nice clean edge right there. I mean, it's easy to fix at least. It's just annoying. Is I'm letting the tape, extend beyond the edge here. Like I know what I'm doing or something, just to provide a nice clean edge, right? As long as the tape doesn't extend over the edge that much. If it goes right up to it, that's perfectly fine. I don't want it to wrap around them. This will be a little weird, but I'm going to just tape these compartments. I don't want anything falling out. Because like I said, these things are not cemented in, and there's always a chance that as I rotate this and manipulate it to get the spray paint on nicely, okay, that I could knock something out. And I don't want to do that. Always keep your work surface neat and clean. Put things you're not using out of the way. Yep. Just like I said, right? Keep it from folding down onto the hull, just like I said. Just like that, by very, very carefully screwing it up. I wonder, what I might do, just looking at this, okay, is, I've got a fair amount of tape here, and I can always get another roll. Is what I'm going to do is, instead of wrapping this with paper, just I'm rethinking that whole thing, is just taping the whole thing. Like this. I mean, just why not? Why not just tape the whole thing? Use, use this. It's masking tape. Use this to mask it. Yeah, I'm just going to do that. It's just going to work better. And what I might end up doing is just very carefully trimming away this tape. And in fact, yeah, I'm just going to do that. It's, I don't know if these scissors are going to work, but the less tape that extends beyond the edge, okay, the less likely it is it's going to fold over and get in the way. And if this doesn't work, I can just put more tape on, right? So I'm learning as I'm going here. Since I don't know what I'm doing, I will do some things and then I'm learning along with the audience here. There, that makes it less likely. And I could trim that again a little bit further if I needed to, because it makes it less likely that will fold over and get onto the hull where it needs to be painted. Yeah, I might even trim that a little bit further if I can. And then when I put the rest of the tape on, I've got this as a guide to say, don't overlap it that much. You don't need to. I mean, there's no reason for that tape to be sticking out there much over the edge, because then, it's going to be painted right on up to it. So there's that. And so using my new decision, do that later, but I'm going to mask the inside of this instead of putting paper on it. Use up this expensive masking tape that I bought and use it to do masking. Why not? Why not, indeed? So I'm going to follow my new advice and actually do that up here. Like, this is pointless, right? Let's use that here. Rotate this so that I can get at it from the top side. And going to trim this. I have the feeling that I'm going to be doing some little bits of hand painting around these escape hatches up here. See, this is the problem that I don't want to have. The tape coming down onto the escape hatches are just probably going to have to be like touched up and hand painted. But so that's another thing, isn't it? Put the tape on here. I wanted to extend just a little ways over the top, up over the edge. I want to make sure the edge is fully covered, but we'll let the rest of it rest on the inside. How are we doing on time? Well, it's about time for a break. This is taking a long time, and I kind of figured when I started this that it was going to take a long time. And it is. It is just taking a long time. I trimmed that too close to the edge, I think. I will correct that in other ways. This is all going to look pretty masky, pretty masked when I'm done. Pretty well masked, which is okay. Really, I'm going to just let's do this corner here. I'm going to try to get this whole front end done, up to here. Get that masked, and then I'm going to take a break then. Corner things. Yeah, this is, I should set these aside so I'm not bumping into them all the time, right? That I just have to laugh at my own ineptitude there. Really tight down in the corner. I don't want a whole lot of leakage in the corner there. First things first, see a flaw there. That when you get to it. opening there or not. Don't take a chance. Cover it. I got plenty of tape. Yeah. Ready to use it, right? I'll go this later, of course. So I don't have to catch the contours perfectly. I just need to make sure that there aren't any openings. It's not like around these edges. Okay. This by doing this. Stopped using the scissors, right? And again, it's like it doesn't have to be tight. It just has to cover the opening. So this is what a masked submarine hull looks like. And there's some issues here. Up there's an issue. Left-handed issue. I'm going to rotate this again. Okay, that's okay. I'm glad I turned it like that. So what I can see is that there is a gap there. Okay. I'm not sure it would matter much or not, but as I rotate this up, I can see down there. So I'll just splot some tape on there like that. So these scissors don't really work, do they? No. Looks like it's on there pretty well. Going over, this is a mess here. How does the bottom look? Yeah, that looks okay. There's a little opening. I don't think that would be a problem, but I'm not going to take a chance. Just any little gap. I'm closing the gaps here. movement than I would like. And I managed to poke the tape, but it looks like there's plenty of extra tape there. I never saw that before. There's a little ding there, and that'll just have to be. Anyway, yeah, I've got like a third of it done, but now I kind of know what I'm doing. The rest of this should go pretty quickly, and looks like it's there might be some issues around the edges that I might need to address in final inspection, right? You might need to be addressed then, but until then, this is coming along okay. I want the corner to be nice and tight, but all right, I'm going to take a break, and after break, now that I kind of know what I'm doing, had a little bit of practice now. I will tape and mask the rest of this, and once that's done, I'll be able to move on to looking at the Apollo, and maybe there'll be time to do that. We'll see, to work on the Apollo. What am I doing? I want to mask the propeller shaft. Why? Because that's going to be cemented on. And if I can keep the paint off of it, then I don't have to scrape the paint off later. No, that didn't work. I'll work on that later too. All right. So that's relaxing painting with Dyson Dungeons taping stream. And I'll be finishing masking this after break, and then I'll get it masked, and then after it's masked, I'll go around the edges one more time just to be sure that it's okay. And then, it's ready for spray painting, and hopefully I'll do a decent job of getting the paint on it. Sometimes I miss a spot or whatever, but I'll try to do it with good lighting and all the stuff one should. All right. It's 1:15 already. I'll be back in about a half an hour, and we'll resume masking the inside of the submarine. Thanks for watching so far. See you in about a half hour. And I'm back. Look at that. Pretty much actually on time instead of like 10 minutes late, as usual. That's a different sort of thing, isn't it? Well, this is called Apollo Wednesday and Sub. And as it turns out, not getting anything done on the Apollo, but the end sub is continuing apace here. I am masking the inside of the submarine, the detail part of it, so that I can paint the outside of the hull gray. And as I was explaining earlier, I could have painted the outside of the hull before I did the whole inside. I mean, that actually could have been something I could have done, and it might have made some sense, except that the process of doing the inside probably would have led to scratching up the outside, and I'd have to repaint it anyway. But I got some of it done. Okay, and now I'm going to mask the rest of this, hopefully successfully, and then recheck it all. I don't know if I'm going to get around to Apollo, but the official label for this now is going to be Apollo Wednesday. Wednesday. It's hard to say it correctly. You know, everybody says Wednesday, W-E-N-D, which it isn't. It's Wednesday because of Woden. But I can understand not saying Wednesday because it's just hard to say. Okay, I'm going to get that corner as a separate item. What I'm talking about is the corner there where it all comes together, because I have this nice big chunk of tape here for this that I tore off without really measuring. And yeah, anyway. So there it is. I'll just have to go back and fill in the corner. It's like taping woodwork or wall painting. To remind myself that if it extends over the edge just even a little bit, that's all it needs to do. When I was taping the front here, it was extending over the edge a lot and risking the possibility of it folding over and covering a part of the hull. You just have to be, anyway, this now is just extending over just a tiny bit, but that's all it needs to do. Cut this off because I'm dealing with a corner here, right? It didn't work. Nice and tight. This happens all the time, every time. Is that after break, even if things are fine before break, after break, I end up sniffling. Everything feels colder after the break than before, even though, nothing has changed in terms of the temperature of the room. I am baffled as to why that happens. It's happening again, getting a little snuffly. Scissors are pretty decent, but the points don't work. And I've got these others where I put them. It has a nice point on them. Okay, nice pointy like that. That should. Okay, well, it actually worked. Huh. It's about the first time that's happened. That is to say, oh, it worked. Gap in the tape there. I don't want gaps in the tape. To the back, this next bit here. the corner. Maybe I should like rotate the thing so that I can get to where I want to go, right? Yeah. Earlier on, I was talking about, the rules of administration as it comes to like strategic planning and mission statements and goals and objectives and what the differences are and what difference that should make anyway, and it doesn't. But sorry, I was going on a little bit of a rant about that. So, like, what am I working on a goal or an objective now? Does it matter? Can you tell? No, not really. The thing is, the here I'm finding out that the tape sticks to my finger better than it does to the surface where I'm trying to put it. And that's the thing. I'm trying to get the corner there. Let's just put some big pieces of tape across here. Overlap more than we need to, just to be sure. I'll get the bottom of this when I do the bottom. We just use this little bitty bit here. Get that there. Yep. I'm going to go with the sniffling again. Oh, yeah. Duh. You'll need to work around that. That's another one of those escape hatch things that makes it, kind of a little bit challenging. This isn't working there, is it? Try a different approach. I'm getting up to the escape hatch. And then I will use a smaller piece and try to wrap it around. So what's going to happen today is that I'm going to finish the masking task here, masking the. Whoa! I just broke my pusher. Yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, I went silent because of the extremely technical task of cutting a piece of tape. Yep, sniff, 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 sniffle, sniffle, sniffle. Sorry about that. It's just like a recurring thing. Back from break, it feels colder and sniffle. I wonder if this other scissors will work here. It's not really too much of a problem here, but yeah, it just goes over the edge a little too far. So there. The back here is the same as in front. The bow, the stern, and the bow here. In that, I wanted to go over the edge and then kind of down in there because I need to spray paint that edge of the stern where it kind of overlaps. Well, that won't be an issue when I take the tape off. Shouldn't be, but you never know. So as I was saying, I'm going to finish taping this, masking it. This will take me up to, but probably not. Anyway, it's going to be real close to the end of the stream. And what I'll probably do at that point is it might bring out the Apollo. It might just bring it out to show that there really is such a thing. But I don't think I'll be doing much work on it. Because it'll be close to quitting time. And if I end a little bit early, I think that would be okay. Rather than anyway. What's going on here? That tape, it really didn't help that tape went down. And it's not a bad thing necessarily, but it's not helpful. This particular bit, that deck has a habit of falling out. So if I put a lot of tape on it, I guess that would be fine. It'll hold it in place. We just need to make sure that there aren't any gaps there, like are starting to form. But then again, I don't need to follow the contours. I just need to make sure that that's covered. So this will look a little bit scabby because of just the way it is. It's going to be blobs. There's going to be blobs of tape here, just because of the way the tape went. It was just have blobs of tape than something that's not covered. And I'm succeeding in creating blobs of tape, that's for sure. ineffective. I'm creating ineffective blobs of tape. A nice big gap there. Well, this is, don't, there's nothing good about that. Okay. There's nothing good about this bit here. It's just a mess. And I'm just going to throw tape at it until it's covered. Whatever I did there, it was wrong and messy. And yeah, and now I used up a lot of tape just covering up my failure. This comes to worse, I can always touch up that bit there, but at least I got it covered. Poorly, messily, but covered. The same thing's sort of happening here. It's just, I think part of it's just the way the thing is laying on the table. Yeah, stick to yourself, but stick to yourself. Yeah, and then don't stick to yourself where you want it. What can I say? Masking is a low skilled job, right? I mean, it just is. It's just like slap tape on there until it's covered up. It doesn't have to look pretty, and it doesn't. It definitely was poorly done. But you know, it's covered up, and that was the goal or the objective or whatever it was, either the goal or the objective or both, or the intent, the thing which I was attempting to accomplish, the product, was to cover it up so that when I spray paint it, the paint doesn't get inside. There. That was just really messy. So let's see if I can do better here. See, that's a nice, a pretty application of tape, right? Except it's not sticking to itself here, thereby leaving a gap. So I have to put, like, that was aesthetically pleasing and effectively ineffective. This here, I don't know, just put more tape on it. If in doubt, slap more tape on it. I'm going to increase the overlap so that it improves the chances of the tape sticking to itself. Okay, I need to do the bottom. Do an inspection. Keep your work surface clear. Put this in half. Yeah, next section of the base, the bottom of the submarine here. Want it to come apart. I have no reason to be as quiet as I am right now, because this is not like super highly technical, difficult work putting the tape on, but um, even though it isn't, I'm making it that by my lack of competence. Well, I said originally that I was actually planning to wrap this with paper, but I'm glad I didn't. That would have been, it just wouldn't have worked. It would have been terrible doing that. Just using up this masking tape to do the masking just turned out to make a whole lot more sense. I suppose, given that I'm trimming this down so much, it would have made sense to buy some masking tape that was narrower. But I didn't know when I bought this, you know, how this would go. What I probably should do is watch other people's videos about how to actually make models, and then I would learn. But then it might not be as much fun to watch. You know, watch me just muddling through trying to figure out how to do things. Maybe I can use this. I have some really really tiny, like eighth of an inch wide or something, like this wide masking tape, but I get to play with scissors, so doing this, cutting it down and try to get it in place and sticking in where I want it, things like that. Just like a bulkhead underneath here, so I can just do this to use the whole piece of tape. Just sticks over the edge. There, that was that was kind of that was okay. before I spray paint this, I'll go around the edges and make sure it's not like sticking to the hull. I don't want to have to go back with a brush and do the whole edge, because the tape flopped over the edge. On the other hand, I want to make sure that that's how the whole thing should have been. Just a tiny bit extending over the edge. But I didn't do it right, so that's what happens sometimes when it isn't done right. When you don't know what you're doing until it's done. What did I just say? Don't know what you're doing until it's too late. That's what I really meant to say. Like, what was I thinking? Why was I even thinking that? That was a bad idea. I mean, it was a bad idea. Why did I have a bad idea? Why did I even act on my bad idea? Those are questions. Those are real posers. No, that's a word, isn't it? Yeah, I don't think anybody ever says that anymore. In fact, I don't remember ever saying it. That was ancient when I was young. That's a real poser. And they didn't mean someone like posing. It meant, that poses, proposes, presents a real question. A stumper. It's another word. A poser and a stumper. We should bring those back. Those are kind of cool words. Toothpick bites the dust. Now, start at the top here, making sure there's enough overlap so that the tape sticks to the tape. It doesn't have to stick to what's underneath it terribly much. That's really not the issue, but it's that just making sure it covers. And I should have made everything just a little bit longer, right? Mm-hmm. Sniffle, sniffle. Sniffle, sniffle, snuffle. It's amazing how this stuff sticks better to things I don't want it to stick to. A little ungrammatical, to which I do not want it to stick. I guess that's the correct way of saying it. And then not so much to the things that I do. The first time that happened, it is the end of it fraying. Do this in a couple pieces because it like it covers, but I'm not sure. Just to be sure, put some more on. Okay. So there's two bits to this. One is that really, excuse me, is I want to go around the entire submarine and rotate it like here. There might not be a gap there, but then again, there might be a little bit right under here, right? So just just to be sure, triple check. There's two parts to this now. One is making sure that the inside of it is completely covered everywhere. And then the other is that the edges of the tape, okay, don't wrap down onto the hull and keep it from being painted. I don't want that. I want it to go right on up to the edge of the tape here. And but first things first, making sure it's completely covered is the most important part, because any gray paint getting on the inside would just really be awful. I mean, doing touch up, I might have to, like I said, none of the stuff is cemented in really. So it'd be possible to take it out and retouch it if I couldn't reach it from the inside. But I really don't want to do that. How much tape I'm going to put on this spot that is now like triple coated, right? So the first part is just to make sure that the inside is like no gaps. I'm going to go around like even there. You know, I can see that there's that it's covered, but no chances. And then trimming the tape around the edges. As long as it extends just a tiny bit, like this is, that's the way it needs to be. There, see there, maybe that's a gap, maybe it isn't. Hard to tell. No, except I keep pushing it in. Like, how many layers of tape on top of layers of tape does it take? As much as it takes, so that I'm not worried about it. Okay, so looking at it from this side, it looks pretty covered. It weighs more now with all the tape on it. Yeah, it was like, yeah, just keep throwing tape at it. Why not? Let's throw a little more tape on here, like right here, just to umbrella it over. That, but again, it's like it doesn't have to follow the contours on the inside. It just has to be covered. So it looks like maybe there was a little, like a puncture there. think there's too much thing is too much tape. A half hour left. Yeah, okay. It's enough time for me to do a couple of things. One is to do a promo for the Dyson Dungeons and Dragons campaign. There's an issue here. Corner. That's going to cover something I don't want covered. There. We'll just take that off and redo it. What's happening is that it's covering up a little bit there. I want to cover there, just that tiny little bit. Covering up the part there. I know it might be off screen, but I can't help it. There. Well, before I spray paint this, I'm going to rub down all along the edge, to make sure it's kind of sealed. But what I want is to make sure that it's not flopping over. And I think, that's up kind of high, but it's not bending over and covering anything. Even here, it's not, because it just can't. It can't wrap around. So that looks like it's going to work okay. These I decided to leave in place, and I'll deal with whether they get stuck or not. But I tried taking one out, and I discovered way early on, that was not a good idea at all, because the tubes are being partially held in place by the periscopes and things. This will be a test, since I was just resting it on that side. Yeah, see it wrapped around the bottom here it comes up and off pretty well. You just need to check that when I push it down later to make sure it's sealed before I paint. To make sure it's not wrapped like here, these little bits where it's wrapped up around the hole. Holy, yeah, that part here is not good. Let me see if I can trim that. I'm not sure. There's or not. They look like they should be really good scissors, and they're not. It trimmed it, some. Useless ragged edge, right? Probably do okay if I check it before I paint it. This is up a little high here, but it's not, doesn't seem to be causing a problem. The reason this is okay up here. Nah, don't mess with it if you don't have to mess with it, right? And I might just need to be doing a little, we'll see how it turns out. We'll see how it looks when it's done. Okay, I'm going to give it one more rotation to make sure there aren't any gaps in the masking. Sorry, I'll put it back on screen here. There's a lot of masking tape on here. Yeah, doing its masking job. Places it looks, just maybe there's a gap tape. Maybe there's a gap tape. There wasn't really a gap, but maybe there was. I think this looks like it's ready to be spray painted. I will do that, of course, off camera because I need to do it in a well ventilated area. And there's also no camera. What would I do here? This is it. This is all I've got. This camera and that one. I could hold it up, spray paint it that way. That would be bad. That would be dumb. So I'm not going to do a really dumb thing, but I'll spray paint it like I did the base that I showed at the very beginning of the stream. I'm going to do that off camera. I'm probably going to do this in like a couple of ways. I'm going to actually, what happened to the tape there? Didn't I tape that cover? I thought for sure I taped that underneath. I am glad I'm rotating this. There's this big hole right there that needed to be covered. And this was really nicely done. This piece of tape was the best piece of tape on the entire submarine. And I need to take it off, or at least peel it back, because this, I never, dumb, I never covered the inside of the hatch. And what the hell? Bad word, sorry. I guess I can do that. It's like PG-13, right? And I can say that once during the stream and not lose my rating. I think I just completely forgot to do it. It wasn't an extremely difficult thing, but it wouldn't have been a total disaster because the color of the paint on the inside there is the same. But it could have been, it could have leaked right on through 2 decks down onto the missiles. And I didn't want that to happen. My best taping, the part that was best taped in the entire submarine, I had to take apart. Just, yeah. What can you do, right? What you gonna do? Seriously, I got the edge just right on the edge of the edge. And then my final inspection, I'm just really glad I caught that, because that could have been, I might have missed it altogether even when I was spray painting it, and then it would have been, oh my God, what happened? What I'm hoping now is that after I get this on again, and I rotate it, now that really nice piece of tape, the one that looked like I knew what I was doing, now it just looks all scabby. Oh well, but that's covered. Okay, so if any paint gets in there, it's just going to get around the edges just a little bit, and that'll be okay. But I won't be spraying paint down into the hole, probably through the next hatch, because there's little gaps around the edges of that next hatch, down all the way down into the missiles. And there's no way, unless I totally disassemble the whole thing, which I could do, but I don't want to. Missile tubes. Wow, that was a thing. And here it should be okay. Underneath these, there's a small hole. If a little paint gets down in there, as long as I can, I will test these to make sure I can still raise them and lower them so that they don't get like stuck. These actually are supposed to go up and down there. Just stuck a little bit. Yeah, I'll loosen those up. I found that with the spray paint, it very rarely actually jams anything. It doesn't go on that thick. But I think I'll be able to fix these. I might. Maybe what I'll even do is I might pull them up just a little bit. You know what I mean? Like that. Just a little bit. Not all the way to the silver part, but just that bit. Like that. So that even if a little paint gets down in there, it's probably not going to show very much. But then it'll minimize. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. Whether this makes it more or less likely that it gets jammed in there with the paint. It just doesn't want to come out, does it? I think I'll leave them all the way down. I think I will. Just leave them submerged here. Just worry about it later. The worst that can happen is like a little brush touch up. But that there, enough messing around with that. Not sure why this one is sticking like that. I think it's stuck at the top. Okay. Having discovered the almost huge oops there, looking at this like 3 times over, I'm not seeing any serious gaps. I'm just thinking about how to paint it. Most of it's in the back, so I can like lay it down. Okay, but I think I'm going to end up holding it and spraying this side. Oh, yeah, speaking of things, I need to do my best to put some tape on the propeller shaft. You can't really see it, but way back here, there's a little propeller shaft, and that I don't want painted. It wouldn't be a disaster if it was, but the propeller needs to be cemented onto that or glued onto that. And glue doesn't like to stick to paint. None of them do, really. So if I can mask it, then it won't be painted, or at least not much. And the propeller can either be glued or cemented on, depending on what I decide to use. I'm not sure. I could use model cement. I might just use contact cement. What I don't want is to have whatever it is, the glue or the cement, like squish out as I push the propeller onto the shaft and get onto the back of the hull here, because the propeller rotates just like the dive planes work. Okay. Yeah, good thing I keep looking around. And I will give it, before I spray paint it, I'll give it yet one more inspection. There's no gaps in the coverage as I can to keep this from, and having this happen. Oh yeah. One more thing. It's really good that I keep doing this, that I keep looking at this, because there's one more thing. Okay. Remember way at the beginning of the stream, I was unmasking the stand, and the prongs went in, and there was this open area that not open area, it was a cradle, really. It was a cradle to go here, and I want this to not be painted. Okay, I want this to not be painted because I want it to adhere to with whatever I use, model cement or Gorilla Glue or contact cement or whatever. I want it to adhere, and it won't adhere very well if it's painted. Now, yeah, the hatch on the top, this section, the propeller shaft, there's always something, right? So this is the very top, the very, very top of the stand. So I want the contact area to be below that. To the bottom. Pretty much. I'm going to leave a little bit uncovered in case it shows under the stand. Just like a 1/8 of an inch or a 1/16 of an inch or something. Bit. But I also don't want it to go. I should probably just cut off an edge, right? I don't want it to go past the edge of the stand, because then it'll show the bare plastic there. Finish off this side. That really isn't nice. There really isn't much of a contact patch here. And I remember when I built this as a kid back in like, not this model, but one just like it. And also in original. Okay, like this is. When I built that back then, it it did. There was the contact patch was sufficient that when I loaded it up with tube cement, it it held. It stayed on the stand. But I don't know. I'm skeptical. We'll find out, right? But now that's there. That won't get painted, and that should match up with the space that isn't painted on the stand, which I'm not going to bother bringing out because every time I move something, there's an opportunity for it to break. One more inspection, right? So I'm going to leave these as is. Hopefully, the spray paint, will cover the top of the sail, okay, without forcing those to be stuck. But I can unstick them, I'm pretty sure. I got the window covered. I've got the little hole there covered. I've got no two more things. Those are big holes. Paint will get in those. Remember, I said I was going to plug them, and I need to do that. Wow, I am really glad that I'm looking at this thing. These are big enough. Almost just the right size, but it's going to fall in. This one, that's sticking, okay? That's doing okay, but this one, this hole is a little bigger, apparently. Did I just drop it in? Well, that might be okay. Let me see if there's variation in the diameter of these toothpicks. Good thing I'm looking at this, because if that hadn't been plugged, spray paint would have gotten into the missile deck. That would have actually been a huge disaster. I mean, really huge. I think I'm going to try this. I know this isn't the best thing to do. Get that to stick. Let's see if I have anything else. Let me look. Good thing. I mean, that wouldn't have been a disaster. That would have just been an annoyance, because I could have, sanded the paint off. But those would have been a disaster. Cleaned up here. There it is. This is the stick that I used for. Oh, instead of cutting this off, let me do this. This is the stick I used for holding the missiles when I painted them. Too big, but what I can do. Yeah, I got 10 minutes left. Let me do what I can do here. Get the coarse grit sandpaper. is I'm just going to sand it down. I'm basically kind of putting not a point, well, kind of like a point on it. I want it to fit into the hole. I should get one of the needle files. It would work faster. It's too bad the toothpick didn't work. It was like really almost perfect, but no. At any rate, it was good that I looked all around the outside of this. Because seriously, that would have been a huge disaster if I had painted it with those holes open. I don't want this to stick out too far. Otherwise, it'll just be a problem. The problem with this is there's a flat spot on it. So yeah, this is fun, isn't it? Making little pointy sticks. It's messing with that one. That's where it broke off, and there was a flat spot on it. You know, just hardly any at all. I mean, really tiny, but it might have been enough to let paint leak through, and I don't need that. Well, at least this is finishing up the time. During the last 10 minutes here, well, I am filing these to a semi-point so I can plug the hole. Dyson Dungeons is all about Dungeons and Dragons, and we have a wonderful Dungeons and Dragons show that streams with a live chat on Twitch on Sundays at 2. We do that. I try to do that at least 3 Sundays a month. So far, we've been pretty successful at that. The show's been going on for a good long time. So it's not just a flash in the pan kind of thing. We're taking it really seriously. And I want to invite everybody to catch that. If you can't catch it with the live chat, all of our past episodes are on YouTube and also as a podcast. And I have to say, it's very entertaining. It really is. It's fun to make. It's fun to watch because I watched some. And, you know, even having done the show, it's entertaining to watch. Why? Okay, well, it's in there. Not perfect, but it's in there. And make another one. So, yeah, that's what this is all about. And as I've said a couple of times, relaxing painting, although there was only 2 dots of paint today, 2 dots of paint, literally, they were little dots. Started out because we, in our show, have really cool dungeon tiles, sewers and warehouses and castles and keeps, and of course a tavern. You have to have at least one tavern. So we have all of those, and we produce our own dungeon tiles on these 3D printers behind me. Okay, PLA, and then hand paint them all. And so it's not just dungeon tiles, but it's, bed rolls and campfires and minifigs for the adversaries we face. And those are all, we produce those and paint them. And this started out as, well, if you're going to be painting them, you might as well stream your painting. Why not? Right? I mean, you're still painting. There isn't any change there. I know. The stick is going to get shorter. I just want to make sure it's fitting. Okay. Just a little bit more. And that's how relaxing painting started, is by showing us. Nicole joined in the beginning, but now it's been me solo, painting minifigs and dungeon tiles. And the submarine started because one time didn't have any minifigs or dungeon tiles, and it was like, well, you got a whole lot of model kits, do those. People will like that too. And you want to build the models. And it was true. I have all these model kits and I wanted to build them. So that's how this started and how it continues. And in the future, we'll be seeing a whole lot more of the models as I continue to work on the Apollo. And hopefully very soon. Okay. I mean, it's a little in the way, but it plugs the hole. And that was the whole point, is to plug the hole so that didn't get paint on the inside of the model. Okay, one more look. The patch where the contact, where the cement is, the glue or whatever I end up using is covered, so it doesn't get painted. These holes are covered. The holes up on top are covered. These hopefully will work out okay. Well, yeah, I'm going to give this like one more thorough inspection before I actually paint it. Okay, yeah, like go around the edges and make sure it's all pressed down. And then I'm going to spray paint this. It won't look perfect. You'll be able to see this, like this seam back here is not going to disappear because the parts don't line up perfectly. So there'll be like a little ridge there, but this is in the back. And at some point, you just have to say, it's not going to get any better, right? So I'm going to put this aside now until I do a final inspection before I actually paint it. And the next time you see it, we'll be doing an unmasking. I'll be doing an unmasking. Hopefully there won't be any bad surprises. I'm looking forward to there not being any bad, like, oh no, I can't believe that happened kind of things. There'll be, there's issues here. I mean, just major issues here around the escape hatches. There's just a big problem here. I might end up just covering these up because it's not working. And there's a gap in between there that is a potential entryway for gray paint. But what I might end up doing is just covering them up and then hand painting them later. I don't know. They just Okay, I'm not going to mess with these anymore on stream. It's taking too much time. But it's an issue that I need to fix before I spray paint it. And the way I'm going to remind myself about that is I'm going to take some of this blue painter's tape, which I haven't been using because I'm afraid the adhesive would pull some of the paint off. And so I'm going to just tag that. Okay. Sorry, it was off camera. But the issue here is the taping around these escape hatches up here, and it's not covering. So I'm going to have to take this off here and retape it before I spray paint it. And I'm not going to bother you with that now because time is up, and I do need to end on time because I have an appointment I have to get to. And yeah. Anyway, there. That should be a warning label that tells me to fix that before I do any painting. I'm going to put this aside. Thanks everybody for joining into this session of relaxing taping with Dyson Dungeons. I'll be back on Friday at more or less 10 o'clock. And maybe if I get the spray painting done, we'll unmask the submarine and do the final little bits of assembly. Maybe not. Can't guarantee, can't promise. But I'm going to try. I'm going to try to do that on Friday. And if that doesn't seem to go okay, or if I can't get the spray painting done between now and then because it's like too cold, or I can't get ventilation or whatever, or excuse, then probably on Monday. But on Friday, I will be back doing relaxing painting and taping and trimming and filing and sanding on the Apollo and the sub. So thanks for joining in, and I will see you Friday at 10 a.m. Bye.